I was looking over critics' most anticipated games of 2020 lists, wondering what should go on my wish list for this year, when I found myself having an opinion. One question that everyone in our hobby grapples with from time to time is, which games should I buy? And with literally thousands of new games coming out every year, not to mention an ever-growing list of must-own classics, it's a question that's getting harder to answer. And it's a question we do need an answer for, because there's only so much money that we have spare to spend on games. And if we had unlimited money, there'd still be a limited amount of time to spend playing those games. And if there wasn't, there's only so much storage space in the average home to fit all the galaxies that we need to put our games in. So then, which games should you buy? The short answer is I don't know, because I'm not you, and while I think my taste in games is pretty good, it's not going to be the same as yours. But what I can talk about is how I choose the games that I put in my collection, because there's a process there that you might find handy. To talk about this, I'm going to borrow an idea from Jay over at 3 Minute Board Games, because there's nothing more Australian than taking an idea a New Zealander had and claiming that it was ours all along. In his very excellent 14 games I got rid of in 2019 video, link in the down there part, Jay talks about the idea of game space. He uses it in comparison of Splendor and Century Golem, noting that they're both set collection games you can play in about 30 minutes. So if you have both in your collection, the one you prefer is going to make it to the table 9 times out of 10, and there's no real reason to keep both. That is, game space exists at the intersection of mechanics and playtime. It's a really good analysis, and it's the reason I got rid of my copy of Forbidden Desert. I realized that if I want to play a pandemic-esque co-op with limited actions and player roles where we're searching for things on tiles, Subterra just does it better for my group. But I want to build on that idea of game space a little bit, because I think there's some more we can do with it. Why, for example, do I have both Avalon and the Resistance still in my collection? They're beyond similar. They're essentially the same game with the same social deception mechanics and playtime, so why keep both? It comes down to a third element that I would say makes up game space, and that's player count. See, the Resistance is great with 5 players, and at every other player count, it drags out, gets really frustrating, and really kind of boring. What makes Avalon different is the addition of all the different character roles. By adding those in, there's more information available to people at the start of the game, more dynamic interactions, and so it's more fun. That added complexity makes Avalon absolutely sing at high player counts, but then at low player counts it gets frustrating and lopsided, because at worst the bad guys have a 1 in 3 chance of guessing who Merlin is and winning the game anyway. It's that small change from the Resistance that, to me, gives Avalon a worthy place on my shelves. But, you might ask, why not just play Avalon without any of the characters? Then it really is just the Resistance. Well, person I made up just for the purpose of rebutting your point, I'm glad you asked, because that brings us to the fourth element of game space: theme. Or artwork, if you prefer. See, the biggest reason I keep the Resistance? Cyberpunk is cool. And that holds even when the theme is just skin deep. The reason Black Angel is on my wish list and Trois isn't? Because I just think space robots is a cooler theme than medieval France. It's the same reason I keep buying post-apocalyptic games, because I hope that one day one of them will turn out to be genuinely good. So that's my take on game space. It sits at the intersection of mechanics, time, player count, and theme. And it's a really tweakable idea, because what counts as different enough is going to vary between all of us. There's a reason I've got 8 worker placement games and counting, because I really like worker placement. And Dark Domains has this take that thing and some programming elements, makes it different enough from Raiders of the North Seas, place a worker, take a worker mechanic, that I feel like I can justify having both and playing both. And game space, as an idea, is fantastic for making purchasing decisions. Because now when I look at a new game, I can think, does this game do something I like? Does it do something that some other game in my collection doesn't already do? And if I do have another game in my collection that does that, does this new game do it in a different enough way to justify having both? Or does it do it better enough that I could replace that game from my collection? And if all else fails, does the game have vampires? Vampires are cool. But that's my take. How do you choose the games in your collection? And how do you decide what stays and what goes over time? Are you, like me, an overly analytical nerd who came up with an entire system just based around buying board games? Or do you grab whatever looks cool and figure it out later? Are there other things that we should be including in the idea of game space, like designers and publishers? Are Reiner, Knizia and Stefan Feld genres unto themselves? Let me know what you think down in the comments, and as always, like, share, subscribe, follow us on social media, and I will see you at the table.